Sorry that I'm a week late, but YouTube gave me a week to think about my actions, and now here I am cooking a turkey. First, we're going to start with a brine. You're going to want a container that'll hold your turkey, and then we're going to put water in this measuring cup, and then we're going to take this measuring cup over to the sink and dump it out, because any recipe that ever calls for water, use something that tastes better than water. So, we're going to use apple juice. A brine is pretty simple. It's usually a wet solution that contains sugar and salt. And since apple juice already has sugar in there, that's taken care of. And it doesn't taste like water. My ratio here is going to be 1 cup of salt to 1 gallon of apple juice. I heat a little bit of this apple juice up just to get the salt to dissolve a little bit easier. And as soon as it's all dissolved, you can add the room temperature apple juice back into it, and that'll help this solution cool off a little bit faster. While that brine cools down some more, we're going to get onto this compound butter, which starts out with not butter at all. That is a couple of tablespoons of bacon grease. And to that, I'm going to go ahead and add my seasonings. And we're toasting these here. I've got some garlic powder and sage and just a little bit of whatever you want to put on your turkey. Honestly, do it to your taste. And MSG, it's going to help everything. Notice I didn't put any salt in there because we are brining the turkey, so there's no reason to add additional salt here. We're basically, again, you're throwing in all your peppers, your red pepper flake, whatever you want in here, and we're waking them up in the skillet in this bacon grease right here. And when everything starts bubbling and cooking, then we can add our stick of butter to this and start working on our compound butter. And once your butter melts, it should start picking up a little bit of color, and at that point you can just kill the heat. And then we're going to move back to this brine. I've got a half an onion for whatever reason, so I'm going to throw that in there. And then here's the trick. It's a jar of pickles. And here I've got a smaller jar, but a half a gallon would have been fine, as big a bird as this is. And moving on to that, I do trim just a little bit of the skin right here just to make it a little easier to separate. And I'm doing this before I brine it so that it's not just soaking wet and gross and stuff. Anyway, like I said, just kind of separate the skin here from the meat. Just work your hand in there, and if the bird's like 27 pounds or whatever and you can't get your hand all the way in there, you can use the handle on a spoon or a spatula or something. Just kind of help separate that all the way out as much as you can. And don't forget the thighs too. They're relatively easy to get to right here, just like you did everything else. Take a little bit more work, but you can do it. Once you get all this skin lifted off of the meat, you can just ease it down into your brine, and you can tell that a half a gallon of pickles would have been great in this because that would have given me more volume. But it winds up covering up about 2/3 of the bird. What I wound up doing is 10 hours into this brine, I just flipped the whole thing over and kind of basically got a 10-hour brine on both sides. But it worked out pretty well. And by now your butter should be cool enough that you can move it into a flat container here. And I scraped as much of it out as I possibly could, and then realized that I just couldn't leave that much seasoning in the skillet. Wound up throwing another half a stick in there just to soak up all that, mixed it all in, and then stuck all of this in the fridge with the turkey till I was ready to cook. And when you come back 24 hours later, you'll notice that that butter has set up just perfectly, and it's all a ½ inch thick because you've put it in a container like this. You can just take a butter knife and slice all the way to the bottom, make yourself some beautiful little squares that are really easy to work with, and slide under your turkey skin. Now, this was a roaster tray that was not designed to do this, so I kind of had to modify it just a little bit. Again, massive turkey here. I'm not letting that onion or those pickles go to waste. There's a lot of dead space of like air in this cavity, and if you don't fill it with something, you'll wind up drying the turkey breast out because there's hot air in there and hot air on top, and it's just cooking from both sides. And it doesn't need to do that. Just shove stuff in there. You don't have to eat it. It's fine. Just take up some space. And then, like I said, we're just going to push as much of this butter as we can under the skin. And as it cooks, that butter is going to render down, and all those seasonings and butter and fat and everything is going to make everything taste good like it's supposed to. So once you get everything ready and where you want it and about to be in the oven, it's a good idea to truss your bird, and I didn't think I had any twine to truss with. So I was like, I'll just grab some aluminum foil and I'll tie the feet together with it and then cover the tips of the wings that are always going to burn. The aluminum foil will not hold the legs together enough. Later on, I did find out that my wife's like, hey, the twine is over there, which go Jess, way to go. And Also, I'm not cooking the bird in this tray. If you do that, you'll wind up with a lot of sogginess on the bottom. So I was going to set it under it to catch all the drippings. And as you'll see here, the way that I had my stove originally set up, it wasn't going to fit. It's just too big of a bird. Buy a smaller bird. Anyway, so I had to modify the tray again to lower it, and it all fit in there really well. And then I put a thermometer in the breast and set it to 165 degrees to go off. Now I'm making something to baste the bird with here. I've actually just got a little bit of bacon grease that I melted, and then I'm adding everything that I added in that butter that I put under the skin to this. And now you can roast your turkey fast if you want to, but we had ball practice right after I was going to start this. So I started the turkey at 250 degrees, and you can see 3 hours in, I'd gotten up to an internal temperature of 130. One good thing about cooking it lower and slower like this, you can check on it every hour or so and see if you're getting browning on the skin. And when you start to get browning, you can tint those areas so that they don't get overly browned, and then the rest of the bird can kind of catch up. Again, if you want to cook your bird at 375 degrees and cut the time in half, that's fine. But I had plenty of time to do it this way, so that's just what I did. And when your turkey reaches an internal temperature of 165 degrees, it is done. Now, I pulled mine at 160 degrees because you're going to have some carryover cooking. And the last thing anybody wants on Thanksgiving is a dried out turkey. So keep that in mind. I also didn't get any pictures of this sliced up because as soon as it came out of the oven, we had to run to my sister-in-law's house for Thanksgiving. But do rest your turkey before they slice it up and enjoy. Thanks for watching, guys.